my friend.
Welcome back to the show.
The show? Well, I'm not sure what show this is. Could you tell me?
You're listening to the Island Shuffle on your phone.
That sounds fake to me, but okay.
This is the show where we watch a random episode of Lost every single week, and then we talk all about it.
We talk all about our favorite television show to watch in a wrong order, and it's called Lost, and it's about this plane lands on an island, and the island, it's no ordinary island.
It's not an ordinary island. I landed on an island.
What island did you land on?
I grew up on an island.
That's what you call being born, is landing.
Yes. Well, the stork drops you off, obviously.
Yeah, of course. The stork dropped you off on Prince Edward Island.
Don't you know about the stork, you dork?
I don't know about the stork. Does that make me a dork?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be funny if, like, a school-aged kids made fun of other school-aged kids for not, like, oh, you don't believe in Santa Claus?
Yeah.
What, are you stupid?
Who else could bring these presents?
You think the Easter Bunny isn't real? Oh, you're so stupid.
I like this. I like to think about it.
People should be mean for different reasons. That's what I'm trying to say.
We, on the Island Shuffle, endorse meanness and cruelty explicitly.
If it's not status quo meanness and cruelty.
Exactly. Change it up.
Change it up.
Shimmy it around.
Shimmy, shimmy, yeah.
Think outside of the box.
Shimmy to the left and shimmy to the right. Shimmy every day. Shimmy every night.
Wow, that's a lot of shimmying.
Shimmy on the lawn and shimmy on the john.
Where else?
Shimmy when you want to. Oh no, Shimmy's gone.
Oh no!
Where did Shimmy go?
Shimmy.
Shimmy, oh no.
Shimmy, oh no. Someone think of Shimmy. Keep Shimmy in your hearts tonight, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thanks for listening.
This show's about Lost, believe it or not.
Technically, it's about Lost. And what episode did we watch this week?
We watched Season 1, Episode 19, called Deus Ex Machina.
And it revolved all around our favorite bald man.
Our favorite bald man, the
John.
guy from Mr. Clean.
The guy from Mr. Clean. It's a Mr. Clean episode, everybody. We learn about his dark backstory, how he used to not be so clean.
He was a dirty man.
He was a very dirty man, but the island made him clean.
And thank you.
Thank you for listening. That's the show. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sweet dreams.
Just kidding. It's about John Locke.
It's about John Locke.
It's about Jonathan Lockathan.
Mr. Clean is not a character on the show Lost, and we apologize for misleading you on that front.
It was very rude.
We were being a little rude, but now we're going to be completely honest and just tell you scene by scene, word for word, shot for shot, everything that happens in this episode, accurate as the day is long.
Accurate as the day is long.
Yes.
Is the day long?
The day is 24 hours long. It's accurate as 24 hours.
Oh.
Yes. Also, the days aren't that long because it's winter.
Oh.
There's a lot of...
Oh, this makes perfect sense now.
If you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
It makes so much sense.
It just makes so much sense. So do you want to start with the flashbacks or just on-island stuff? How do you want to handle it?
Let's go flashback. I love the back flashes.
Yeah, Locke has some of the strongest flashbacks in the whole show, so we've all been very excited to finally get one of these Locke episodes that everyone's raving about.
Let me tell you about John Locke in the past.
John Locke in the past.
That man has some hair.
He has some hair. He wasn't always a baldman.
He wasn't always a baldman.
Or a Baldwin.
An Alec.
Or the others.
Alec, this guy.
Stephen, the rest.
Stephen and the rest. That
is Stephen a Baldwin?
Probably.
Okay, I'm going to assume Stephen is a Baldwin.
Yeah, Stephen Baldwin.
Stephen Baldwin. Steve and Bald win.
Win.
They
Mr.
win.
Clean. Coming full circle.
Yes.
Coming at you from the 913. Give it back, everybody. Hop, pop, pop. How you all doing?
Did a shock jock from did a shock jock with very little confidence just burst in here?
How you all doing? Hope it pretty good. Hope I'm not interrupting anything. It's 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night. How you doing, everybody? And just before we get started, I just want to ask, how you doing?
I'm doing bad. Because I'm listening to a shock and a bad one at that.
Well, practice makes perfect, right?
That is true. So when we first see Locke, he's working in a toy store.
And holy shit.
Is he ever showing a kid how to play Mousetrap?
Yeah.
He really shows him it, and he says some stuff about how all the pieces matter. And we're like, whoa, he's not just talking about Mousetrap, is he?
No, he's talking about life.
He's talking about fucking life, dude. Mousetrap is like life. Not just the game of life, the board game.
Mousetrap is like the game of life.
Mousetrap is identical to the game of life.
They both come from the same aisle in the store.
Mm-hmm.
Both about the same amount of money. Mousetrap is just like life.
They're just like life. They are played on a board. Pieces are moved around the board.
Family-friendly game. Ages 6 and up.
If it's ages 6 and up and it comes with pieces, it's the same game.
It's the same game.
It's the same damn game.
Same damn game.
So someone comes up, a lady comes up and asks for a football and then leaves and is weird and shady about it. And then later, Locke is leaving his shift. He goes into his car. And who does he see but that same lady?
That old lady is following him around.
And he chases her down. And he's like, ma'am. And he gets hit by a car. And he gets back up from the car hitting. And he chases her down and he reaches her and he's like, who are you? And she says, Locke, I'm your mama.
And it's sick. He's like, sup, Mom?
He's like, hey, Mom, cool. So they go to grab a coffee, and Locke's mom and Locke is just like, I don't know. How do you know you're my mom? I never knew my mom, and I don't think my mom ever knew me, so who the heck? I grew up in foster homes a bunch, so I don't freaking know.
I don't know, Mom.
And her mom says a bunch of wild shit, a bunch of shit like she says like, oh, don't you see, Locke? The universe brought us together because you're part of a grander design. You are special and you are important. And
don't you know that, Locke?
Don't you know that, Locke? And Locke says, do you know anything about my father? Is he still alive? Is he around? And the mom says, oh, Locke, don't you know? Buddy, you were immaculately conceived.
You're Jesus the sequel, buddy.
Ba-ba-ba.
Ow!
Whoa, huge implications for Locke's character.
He's a Jesus figure.
Except the next scene is him going to a PI, and the PI saying like, yep, here's all the data on Emily Locke. Been institutionalized for schizophrenia for several years. But she is in fact your mom. And then Locke is like, well, okay, but what about my daddy?
What about Daddy?
Where's my daddy?
Where's Daddy at?
And the PI has a little moment with him, has like a personal moment with Locke, and he says,
might not want to know him, Mr. Locke.
I don't think you're gonna want to know him.
These things don't end happy. I'll tell you that much, buddy.
I know you think it's meant to be.
It's not meant to be.
Sometimes it's just not meant to be, Mr. Locke. But he gives him the file anyway, because he's got a job to do.
Sometimes you got a job to do.
So he tracks down his dad. His dad lives in this big honking, is mansion the right term? It's definitely a big ass house.
Definitely the right term.
It's a
if
mansion.
If you have a gate
yes.
and a man to work your gate,
yes,
then you live in a mansion.
Confirmed. It is a mansion. He drives up to the guard and he says, I want to see Anthony Cooper. I'm his son. And he says, well, all right, go right in. And he goes and we meet John Locke's dad for the first time, who is a pivotal character in Locke's backstory. We meet John Locke's dad, and he's played by the delightful Kevin Tighe. I think the guy who plays John Locke is like my favorite non-main cast member across the whole show.
Or the guy who plays John Locke's dad?
Yes.
Kevin Tighe.
Yeah. Kevin Tighe.
You said the guy who plays John Locke.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
my favorite non-main cast member. Just throwing some insane shade at Locke.
Yeah, Locke is, if you think about it, Locke is not a main character of the show.
More of a supporting character. You know, the Jesus figure.
Yeah, the Jesus figure who is constantly talking about how his destiny is on the island and such. I mean, the way we've been watching the show, he pretty much is a side character.
That's true.
So
Sawyer is the main character.
Mhm.
The other main characters are Juliet, who doesn't exist yet.
Yes, Bernard, who doesn't exist yet.
Bernard, who doesn't exist yet.
And someone else who doesn't exist yet.
Who?
Saeed, who does exist yet.
Saeed exists.
Saeed exists.
But not in the way that we know him.
No, exactly. So, they're shooting the shit. They're having a kind of a awkward, like, oh, you know, dad and son reuniting. And
classic conversation. We've all had one of those.
We've all had one of those. We've all reunited with our dads and had kind of an awkward conversation, but it's well-meaning.
Dad?
And we talk about how mom is schizophrenic,
not doing so
not
well,
doing so great, and so finally, Locke's dad says, "Let's go hunting, buddy.
You like hunting?
You're not one of those animal rights nut jobs, are you?"
Ha.
And
little shade thrown there.
Little shade thrown at PETA from Locke's dad.
What's he got against Peter? Peter. People for ethical treatment of endangered rhinoceros.
Oh,
Peter.
Peter. We gotta stop treating these endangered rhinoceroses unethically.
Yeah. There has been some mean shit done. People are making fun of the rhinoceroses both for believing in Santa Claus and for not believing in Santa Claus.
And what we're saying here on the show is just pick the less conventional one.
Just pick the less conventional one.
Yeah.
And Peter will get off your back.
Yes, please. Please let Peter off your back.
Please get Peter off your back.
So Locke turns up sometime later.
Yeah.
Ready for hunting. Gateman lets him through. Gateman says, "Hey, you boys hunting some birds today? Hope you catch a big guy." And he goes in and he sees his daddy hooked up to a dialysis machine.
Daddy dialysis. Oh, my goodness. That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. I thought we would have more time to bond.
I thought we would have happy daddy.
But no, you are having a dialysis.
A dialysis. Your kidney is dying.
And it's Alice's too.
Alice's kidney is also dying. Alice's sister, Alice Sis.
Die, Alice Sis.
Die, Alice.
We've
Alice
done it.
had a cyst, and we wanted it to perish. So we said, die, Alice Cyst.
Great. We did say that. So John.
So Al got an assist. He was playing hockey, and Alexander
got an assist.
And
but we are rooting for the opposing
yes,
team.
Exactly.
So we say die, Al assist.
Exactly. I think that's the last one possible.
Yeah, I think we've done it. We've successfully permutated that into all the. We've wrung that one dry.
And as we say at the end of every episode.
Fuck off.
Okay. So he's not doing well.
He's not doing well.
He's on a dialysis machine.
And he says, "You weren't supposed to see this. Did I say come at 11? I meant come at 12. Oh, geez, I didn't want you to worry your fool little head.
That's why I didn't want to tell you, because you would be so worried,
You'd be
John,
so worried,
because you're a sweet little man who works at a toy store.
Yeah, and so later they're out hunting doves.
Yes.
They're out shooting
doves.
You know how you shoot doves? I don't hunt. I never have hunted.
That is hard to believe.
Is it really?
No.
Do you picture
I've
me
never
as
hunted.
Do you picture me as someone who has ever pulled the trigger of a gun in his life?
Bit of a hunter.
Bit of a hunter.
More of a bow and arrow type person.
Yeah, I'm a real crossbow fiend.
Real crossbow fiend.
I definitely love to enact violence on animals.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, as the boys do when they're shooting doves.
Shooting doves. Bizarre one to hunt.
Of all the, I know hunting, you're not hunting pheasant or anything like that.
It's always pheasant.
Like, why doves? Is it more symbolic that way?
I think that is probably it.
Yeah.
It's like loss of innocence, sort of.
John is hunting a dove. He's been hunting this dove his whole life.
Exactly.
And now look where it's about to get him.
He's got his glove on, hunting the dove.
And? Yes,
it's
and?
true love.
Oh, yes.
From God above.
From God above. But his dad is God. Oh, yeah, when they're, like, cracking wise about, like, well, we're meeting. And Locke is like, you know, my mom said I was immaculately conceived, and he said I didn't have a dad. And Anthony Cooper is like, you were immaculately conceived? Well, I guess that makes me God.
Great line.
Great line.
Great line.
Just cracking wise about your ex-wife's
Did you know
mental
he
illness.
improvised that line?
He improvised that line?
No.
Oh, boy.
That'd be an insane line to improvise.
That'd be wild to improvise and have them keep it in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess that makes me God.
Cut. That's not the line, but it is actually better.
It's way better.
It's way better. We're just going to leave it in. We don't have that much film, so we're just going to let it slide. I'm JJ, and I only have so many rolls of film.
I'm J.J. Abrams, and I only have enough film to film 120 episodes of this show.
So we really got to make every frame count. So
I have 120 episodes worth of film.
Yep. 121.
Oh, come on. Come on. Oh.
What?
True. That is true.
That is true. So
then what happens? They shoot a dove.
They shoot a dove, and he's like, nice shooting, son. And then Locke is like, all right, I'm going to do it. You are on a list for kidney donation, but guess what? I'm going to donate a kidney to you.
I'll give you it.
Because I love you, and you're my dad.
You're my dad, and you know what? I know you just came into my life 10 minutes ago, plot-wise, but I'm already ready to give away body parts for you.
Here it is. I'm ready to do it, and please, Dad, take this kidney.
Take this kidney.
And they go into the hospital, and they're like, I'm so proud. I'm so happy you're doing this for me, son. And they hold hands, and they go, let's go see you on the other side. And they go under, and when Locke wakes up,
he's all alone. There's no one there. There's an empty bed beside him.
And the nurse is there, and he says, oh, I didn't realize he was your dad, because you don't share a last name. He was checked out this morning. And Locke is like, well, that's weird. And then Locke's mom shows up and says, well, it was his idea. We needed some money. And and it dawns on Locke. It dawns upon Locke. He just got grifted.
Scammed.
He got grifted. His biological daddy grifted him for a kidney.
Scammed by dad. And you know that feels bad. I just got scammed by my dad. And you know that feels bad. I only have one kidney. And you know that feels bad. I lost a kidney to my dad. And you know that feels bad. My name is John Locke. I gotta...
I know where that was going. We already made one Locke's name sounds like cock joke on this podcast.
Did we?
We already spent it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't say it then.
Yeah, please do. We would have gotten arrested by the FCC and our parents.
The Federal Cock Commission. No one's supposed to know about this.
If this gets out, it's all over.
It's all over. The whole commission's going down.
We have a sacred duty to keep this from the public.
Keep this from the public.
If the public finds out about the word cock, it's all.
God.
That's how this fragile house of cards we've been building.
That's the start of the end right there.
Yeah, that's the fuse. That's the shot heard around the world.
My name is John Locke. I got a big
friend.
This is my friend.
He's big.
Gigantic man, 6'10".
My favorite character on the show is Locke's gigantic friend.
He's just like a large man.
He's just enormous.
That's really funny. You know how Lost, and we saw a couple of them today, has those characters that just are sort of there.
Yes.
They're not a part of the story, but they're just like okay, there were more people in the crash.
Yes, exactly. Especially in the first half of the show, there's a lot of like background shots of just like the nameless survivors.
And they always
hanging
look
out.
like the most average people. It would be really interesting if they had like a gigantic man.
Just one
like,
big guy.
Yeah. They had like, I don't know, a person with like, those blade legs that Oscar Pistorius ran on.
Yes.
They could have someone like that in the background.
They could. There's a lot of potential. A lot of wasted potential.
A lot of wasted potential.
Arguably the greatest wasted potential in Lost is the average-looking... yeah, definitely. Average-looking background characters.
They could have really done something special with that.
They really could have. So John just got his kidney stole. Kidney.
Yeah.
He willingly gave up his kidney, but he was grifted. He was grifted to doing it.
He was grifted.
And so he drives over to he's like bleeding from the surgery still. He drives over to the mansion, and the gate man says, "I'm not letting you in, John. He's not taking visitors." And he cedes at the gate and goes, "You fucking guy," or whatever. And then he drives around in his shitty little red buggy and slams the roof of his car, and he screams and he cries.
He's mad.
He's mad.
He's
mad.
Upset. He's like a mad dad.
He's like a mad dad, and he's mad about his dad.
He's mad about his dad.
I can't blame him.
That feels bad.
It feels bad. Locke feels bad. That's the story of Locke this episode.
And it was a good one.
You like those flashbacks?
I loved those flashbacks. This episode, and I said it a couple times watching it, very good episode of television.
Very good episode of television.
It's so dramatic. The stakes are so high.
The stakes are very high.
A man just lost a kidney.
You find out, and the final, one of the final reveals of the show, of the episode, is that he lost his kidney. He got scammed out of his kidney.
He got scammed out of his kidney.
By his fucking dad.
That's incredible.
That's like a thing that could come off as really silly and like dumb if it is not executed well.
But it was executed well.
Exactly.
It's like a man on death row.
Yeah. Like, oh, fuck.
That's really dark.
That's dark. I don't know why you had to make it so dark. Oh, God.
Sometimes the mind wanders.
Sometimes the mind wanders. Speaking of wandering, what do you say we wander over to the island?
To the island.
What's happening with Locke on the island?
Oh, my goodness. Locke and Boone are best friends.
Locke and Boone are best friends, and they're trying to open up the hatch door.
The hatch is there. They've got it excavated a bit, but they just can't open up the door. And so
they're building this giant trebuchet.
They're building a trebuchet, notoriously better than a catapult.
Yes, as they elaborate in multiple detail.
Yeah, they were the OG trebuchet community.
Yes.
Was John Locke and Boone, whatever his name is.
Trebuchet enthusiasts.
Trebuchet enthusiasts of the island.
And they're exercising their favorite hobby of building trebuchets. And so they try to have it slam down in the center of the hatch door to have it break, and it goes nothing doing. It smashes, and then a piece of shrapnel flies out.
Hits Locke in the leg.
It's a little Locke in his little leggy.
Little leggy Locke.
One thing we should mention about Locke is that his backstory, effectively, is that the first thing we learn about him, more or less, in the show, canonically, if you're watching the show as you would watch a show, instead of the whack way we watch the show.
Via random.org, random number generator.
If you're watching it that way, if you're watching it the vanilla way, let's
vanilla,
say.
Yes.
If you're watching it vanilla, you learn quickly that Locke was paralyzed in a wheelchair before he was on the island. He had no legs.
He had no
use of
legs.
it. No working legs.
He got legs back.
Now that'd be something. And
he was the character on the Oscar Pistorius Blades. And then he got real calves.
He got real calves, and then he lands on the island and he gets the finest calves you've ever seen. And so throughout the course of this episode, his leg condition starts to deteriorate until he can barely walk. And so he's asking the island,
what's going on, his land?
The island gave me my legs back, so I figured I have some kind of purpose here. And I've always been a harder believer. I've had a lot of faith in this island being not just any old island.
Yeah, this is a special little island.
Special little island. But now my legs are being taken away from me, and I don't understand why.
What are they doing to me?
What's happening?
What is going on?
And Boone is also like, we should give up on trying to open this hatch. What are we going to build a bigger trebuchet? This is some nonsense. How long is this going to go on? So Locke decides to say, hey, maybe our faith is just being tested. We just got to wait for a sign. And he gets that sign in the form of a trippy, weird vision.
It's a scary one.
It's a scary one. It's like sharp cuts, hard zooms, disorienting. Locke's mom is there pointing at the sky.
Oh, hell yes, she is.
Boone is there, very bloody.
It's scarily bloody.
Frighteningly bloody.
That man looks hurt.
He looks hurt, and he is repeating back in a like pitched down voice. Teresa falls up the stairs.
Teresa falls down the stairs.
And Locke is standing there, and suddenly he's in a wheelchair. And also he sees, the critical image he sees, is a yellow plane falling from the sky.
An aeroplane.
A plane of the air.
A plane of the sky, like a dove.
Yes, not one of your pavement planes.
It's not one of those planes that you just drive on the street.
And it's not one of those planes you swim through the ocean.
It's not one of those planes that you see on that funny businessman's tie.
No.
It's not one of those planes that the pilot gives you when you go visit the cockpit as an 8-year-old boy, and he says, here's your wings, and one day maybe you'll be a pilot, and you think, ha, no one is actually a pilot.
And it's also not the planes of Abraham.
It's not the planes of Abraham.
What it is?
A sky plane.
It's a sky plane. It's a sky plane. Airplane.
Airplane. Plane of the sky.
Plane of the sky. We've been over this.
And it's going down.
It's going down. And Locke, all this happens and it coalesces. Cool scene, by the way. Scene I completely forgot about. Completely struck me as like, whoa, shit, this show can sometimes do weird-ass nonsense really well.
It's unexpected. It's sort of meaningful. It gives you something to wonder about.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of go about dissecting the thing. Like, Locke tells Boone about this dream he has. And he's like, I think what we got to do, I think what the island's trying to tell us is that we got to go find this plane that crashed on the island. And Boone at first is like, you fucking had a dream, dude. You were on a plane crash and you dreamed about seeing a plane, buddy. What are you talking about?
What are you saying, man?
And then Locke says,
Who's Teresa?
And Boone is like shook.
What are you trying to do, old man?
And as they progress on their journey towards the plane, Locke opens up about his past, about his legs as his legs fail.
Oh, yeah.
And Boone opens up about Teresa. And I forget what the story of Teresa is.
The story of Teresa.
Yeah.
Boone's mother was not around very much.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a nanny named Teresa. And Boone would sit up in his room and yell for Teresa all day. Mm-hmm. And she would have to go up and down the stairs. And one time, she slipped and fell and broke her neck.
Died, I assume.
They don't specify, but probably.
They don't specify, but probably didn't survive that injury.
Yeah. A neck break is a tough one.
Mm-hmm. And
it's not like breaking your collarbone or your leg.
No, that's a hard thing to recover from.
The neck, the head is a really important part of your body.
Yeah, and it needs to be able to communicate with the rest of your body.
Yeah, it's like the brain and the heart, I think, are sort of like, the brain is like your hard drive, and your heart is like your processor.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a 1-to-1. And then your lungs are like your
RAM.
Yeah, your RAM. Your lungs are like your RAM. Well, your brain, I guess, would be more like your RAM.
What's that?
Your brain would be your RAM, I would
Your
think.
brain is your RAM. Well, what's your hard drive?
It's also your brain, I guess.
Are we not set up the same as computers?
I don't think
what you're telling me?
It might not be a 1-to-1 is all I'm saying.
Wait, what if? Because in the future, everyone is going to be machines, right?
Yeah, that's going to be great.
They will just be able to say, like, your hard drive is your hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Your CPU is your CPU. Wait, it could be argued that your heart is your power supply.
Yeah, your heart is your power supply.
No, your food is your power supply.
That's exactly a big plate of food. That's your power supply.
That's your power supply.
That's 120 volts, baby.
Nothing more powerful than a person who just ate a bunch of potatoes.
The most powerful food known to man.
Potatoes in a Monster Energy drink.
Potatoes in a Monster Energy drink. No, thank you.
Welcome to my life, Mayor. My lifestyle determines my death style.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
I can tell. So they find the plane. And Locke's legs at this point are basically not working.
They're non-legs.
And so he says, Boone, you're going to have to climb up these vines, and this plane is crashed into the side of a cliff. You're going to have to climb up this and see What's in that plane that's so important?
And Boone's like, all right, Locke, that's reasonable.
That's reasonable. He does it. He climbs up the vines, and Locke is kind of shouting at him, being like, careful. Look out.
Really helpful, John.
Classic helpful John Locke. And he climbs up and he enters the plane. And this is the same plane that Yemi was in. That he burns that one time. This is the plane where all the heroin's in. We've seen this plane multiple times.
This is heroin plane central.
This is the heroin plane. And so Boone gets up there. He sees Yemi's body. He sees a map of Nigeria. And a map of Africa, actually, because there's a Saharan desert on there, too.
Yes.
And he also sees the Virgin Mary statues.
Yes.
And he goes, hey, you want to know what was so damn important up here? Just heroin. These guys are drug smugglers.
But no one knows how he knew that it was heroin.
He sees a bunch of Virgin Mary statues and he goes, oh, it's just heroin.
I know this brand. I've bought this brand many times before.
Here's what I think it is. I think we learn in that moment that Boone is a devout Catholic.
Yes.
And that Virgin Mary is a heroine to Boone.
She is a heroine.
Yeah, to Boone.
Oh, and John Locke was immaculately conceived.
Exactly.
So that's why he injects all that heroin at the end.
Yes, that's why the episode ends with him with the Velvet Underground song Heroin playing while John straps off or whatever it's called.
He's face down in the gutter. He found a gutter.
He found a gutter on the island.
Really incredible stuff.
Honestly, harrowing scene.
Harrowing. Wow.
Scene. Heroin scene.
Did you see his receding heroin line?
Man, you have half of your Marielle and you really are like
that's it.
Gotta dive deep into the pun city.
I'm done. I'm done like dinner.
Pun and done.
Pun and done. Oh my goodness.
Pun and done.
Well, so a few fundamental facts that you need to understand.
Is there more? Yes?
That's it.
That's it. I liked it. Let me be on the record and say I liked all of these puns.
How about that Super Bowl?
How about it? What'd you think of it?
Not enough punts for me.
Wow. Wow.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. No, I watched the last minute of the Super Bowl. So I saw Tom Brady get sacked and lose. So that was fun. That was worth seeing for sure.
Hell yeah.
But other than that, I didn't really see any of it.
It was fine.
Seems like a fine Super Bowl.
Yep, it was a pretty good one.
If the cop team loses, I'm happy.
Yeah. I think it was actually like the best Super Bowl ever.
Yeah.
It was the most.
People were saying it was very back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool. So this is the show about the Super Bowl.
Yes, this is a show where we talk about the Super Bowl. We watch a random Super Bowl every episode. And we tell you how good or how bad it was.
And but the secret to this is we watch them in order.
We watch them in order.
Once a year.
And we finally got to we're 56 years old or whatever. However many Super Bowls
something like that. There's an L in it.
Yeah, definitely past 50.
Lee. Jet.
Super Bowl Jet Li.
I think it might be 52.
Super Bowl Jet Li.
Jet Li.
So enough about the Super Bowl. Get back to Lost. So Boone's digging around and John Locke's like, what the heck? What kind of sign is this? How the heck? I can't make heads or tails of this. I really thought I'd find all the answers here, but I'm more confused than I've ever been.
What's going on now?
But then
he gets his sign.
Boone sees a radio transceiver.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls out, and he gets an answer. He says, we're the survivors of Oceanagate 15. But before he can hear the reply back, the plane
takes
flight. The plane takes flight into the earth.
Its trajectory is only down.
It takes flight, but it flies down into the earth.
It flies into the earth. And then John Locke stands up because he's like, well, now that you did all that work, my legs work again.
Yeah.
And then he gets Boone, and Boone is unconscious and very bloody.
Incredibly bloody. He's in bad shape.
And John is like, well, I guess I'll walk back with you.
Mm-hmm. So he picks him up over the shoulders, brings him to Jack, drops him off, and Jack is like immediately into doctor mode, opens him up, and he says, oh my gosh, what the heck? Okay, get some water, get some bandages, I'm in surgery mode. What happened?
Tell me exactly what happened.
Tell me what happened. And Locke is like, oh, we had a hunting accident. He fell off a cliff.
He lies.
Then Jack kind of does some more doctory things, and he says, all right, John, I need you to tell me exactly what happened. But
John is gone.
John is gone.
John girl.
And where did John girl go?
He went back to the hatch. He's hitting the hatch. He says, I did everything you told me to, and nothing worked out. What is going on? Give me a sign. Give me something.
Why is this happening? Give me anything. And what happens upon the hatch?
A light comes out.
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 And after that light comes out, that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of the episode.
He gets his sign from the hatch after all.
He got his sign. It was sick as shit.
And we know that Desmond did that sign, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Desmond turned on a light or something.
Desmond turned on a light. Desmond heard him pounding and turned on a light.
Yeah.
So that's nice to know.
Yes.
So this is an episode where John Locke loses the sensation in his legs, gets his kidney stolen, loses his kidney,
kills Boone.
Boone doesn't die in this episode, but
he will.
He will. Spoiler alert.
This is a no spoiler show.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil any of this show for Lost. We don't want to spoil any of this show for Lost.
The secret is, and we haven't told anyone this, but we are actually just watching the show in order and releasing them in a random.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a long game to play?
The long con. That's why we started with the long con.
As a hint, as a clue that we were pulling the longest con of all.
Exactly.
There's one subplot on this episode that we should talk about before we wrap it up. And that is that Sawyer has a headache.
Sawyer has a splitting headache.
He has a splitting headache.
And he is like, man, my head hurts. Sounds are too loud.
He's grumpy about it.
He's mad.
And Jack is like, well, I'm not dealing with it until he eventually does. And they find out that it's just he needs glasses.
He needs glasses. But there's a very funny scene where Jack he's doing like these eye tests. He has a pen in front of Sawyer's eyes and he's like putting it back and forth. And he's saying like, I'm just seeing how your pupils respond to stimulation. And then he sits down and he's like, all right, Sawyer, do you have a history of like heart problems? Do you take any prescription medication?
Yeah, standard doctor
stuff. Have you ever slept with a prostitute?
Yep.
Have you had any sexually transmitted diseases?
And Sawyer's like, we're done here.
Yeah.
We're
the
done
answers
here.
are yes.
The answers are yes.
And then he's forever known as STD Sawyer from this moment on.
Sawyer transmitted disease.
Sawyer transmitted disease.
So,
and I have written about that scene, finally Jack does something cool.
Yeah, Jack just uses his power as a doctor to own and humiliate Sawyer.
And
make it publicly known that he slept with a prostitute.
Exactly. It's great on camera too.
On camera.
That was bold.
Very bold.
I just want to look through here and see if I have any
there is one scene I want to mention, which is the scene where Jack tells Sawyer that he's farsighted. When he initially delivers the news, like Sawyer's putting on a tough guy act.
Yes.
But as soon as he kind of starts to let his guard down with Jack, you realize like he's concerned. He's worried about what if it's a tumor or something like that.
Yeah.
And so finally Jack comes through and he says, Sawyer, I'm afraid you've got hyperopia. And Josh Holloway delivers his greatest acting moment ever in his reaction to that, where he like looks off in the distance, like with the weight of 1,000 tons on his shoulders, and he goes, and he like shakes his head and he goes, like earnestly afraid. He asks Jack, well, what is that? And then Jack is just like, you're just farsighted.
You're farsighted. Jack is a troll in this episode.
Jack just prags Sawyer, and we get one scene of Saeed in this episode, and it's him fusing together a pair of glasses.
He's welding glasses. It's really sick.
Together for
old
Sawyer.
Soy boy.
And he puts them on Sawyer, and everybody makes fun of Sawyer for looking like he was a nerd.
Hurley says, quote, looks like someone steamrolled Harry Potter.
And Sawyer's,
which I don't really get, but sure, it's funny.
It's something. Someone in the writer's room had just read Harry Potter. And
yeah,
he was
exactly.
Like, oh boy,
it's like they steamrolled him.
It's exactly like
really funny.
It's just one of those really funny things that Hurley says.
You know, funny jokes. Wow, looks like someone It really brought the iron down on Kurt Russell.
Whoa, boy. Please don't. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him.
Roasted.
Fucking roasted, buddy.
I have one other note in my list that I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it just is the words, Boone isn't a good actor.
That's true.
He's not. He's very bad.
Especially against Terry O'Quinn,
Yeah.
who throughout the whole of Lost delivers a masterclass in
He acts his
character
ass
acting.
off, yeah.
He acts his ass off in so many different ways. In this
Boone
episode alone,
compete.
we see like earnest Locke, broken Locke, 2 times broken Locke,
Yeah.
like powerful, faithful Locke. We see like so many shades of this incredibly complicated character.
Uh-huh.
And Boone is just there.
Boone is floundering.
Boone is like just being handsome and being like, whoa, the island told you to do that.
What?
What do you mean?
What?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
That's how Boone sounds, by the way.
What are you talking about? That's why they had to kill
They
him.
had to kill him because he sounded like that.
That's why John Locke purposely killed Boone.
Deliberate, elaborate plot to kill Boone. Deliberately.
I'll tell you what I'm talking about.
What'd you think of this episode?
It was incredible.
Honestly, fantastic episode of television.
Like, top 3 of episodes we've ever watched.
Incredibly, like, thematically coherent the whole way through.
Yep.
The struggle, like, Lost doesn't always handle its, like, fucking, like, faithy, religion-y stuff.
Yeah.
But back when, like, there was a sense of, like, the island is a thing that exerts will.
Uh-huh.
The island has a will that needs to be followed, and Locke is the only one really in tune with that.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, they execute that, especially in season 1. They execute that really, really solidly.
Yeah, it's really great, and especially like even the ending with the light turning on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know what that means, but that's such a like moment of excitement in the show, and
Exactly.
it's a pivotal moment.
Exactly.
It's like you're really feeling like you're progressing in some form, and like
Exactly.
you're moving towards understanding something further.
Exactly. You learn after learning that Locke lost his kidney and may have just been responsible for Boone in the pursuit of the island.
Yeah.
He is at his lowest point.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is all for naught if I don't receive something.
And he gets a slight reward.
He gets a little light.
Just a message, a literal message from the island that it's worthwhile.
Yeah, that's profound. Does it make Boone's death worth it?
Yeah, I didn't like Boone.
That's fair. Yeah, nobody really liked him.
Yeah.
So
What do you say we
yeah.
we find out another episode to watch?
Honestly, I'm on board with that. Let me boot up the old tracker.
I love watching the show Lost.
The show Lost. We've had 2 very good episodes in a row, and it's kind of. I'm worried that we're due for a crapper.
So do I go to random.org?
I'm afraid you do.
Okay. So I'm here at random.org, which is a true random number generator.
Oh, you don't say.
Which is different from other things are pseudo-random.
Yeah, this is pure randomness.
And I
somehow.
did 1 to 121, and I got 32.
32. Something tells me you might have seen that one. Oh,
Something
no,
tells me too.
No, 32. We've seen 33. We've seen 31. We've
awesome.
We've not seen 32. This
What
is The Other 48 Days, Season 2, Episode 7. And there's no central character.
There's
in this
no
one.
central character.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that just great?
It's just great.
I can't wait to watch it. I don't know about you all at home. You are watching it with us, but
Yes. You're watching it. I hope you're watching it with us.
I hope you watch the show. We tell you at the end of every episode what the next one will be, and you go out and watch it. That's your homework,
That's
Johnny.
your homework. It's your homework, and you better be doing it, or we'll put you in detention.
Yes, we'll make fun of you for not believing in Santa Claus anymore.
Yes. We love to make fun of our audience. Before we sign off for good, there's a podcast I want to plug.
Yeah.
We are hosted on noisespace.xyz, which is a little network run by an old internet friend of mine, Matt. He has no last name, just Matt.
Just Matt.
Just plain old Matt. And he mostly uses.
He's like Cher that way, or Bono.
He's Matt is almost exactly like Bono if you think about it.
Lives in a castle.
Lives in a castle
under the sea.
Irish.
He's Irish.
He's Canadian. Actually.
Surviving.
He's surviving. Surviving in Ireland. So
Survivorland.
he mostly uses network for hosting his friend's podcast, and me being one of his friends, he was kind enough to host our podcast on his network. But there's a new podcast in town that just started updating, and I've been listening to it, and it's been updating regularly, and it's very good, and I'd like to give it a shout-out. Bear with me on this title, because it's a long one.
Whoa.
It's a journey of a title. It's a mouthful. The full title of this podcast is Henry Kissinger is Pokemon Going to Die?
Wow.
Big title.
That's great. Who is Henry Kissinger?
He's the vadman of Nixon's administration who did war crimes.
Okay.
And he's going to die.
What is this about?
This is a leftist podcast where they scream about politics all day.
Oh, cool.
It's like 5 or 6 people, and it's a rotating cast of people. And they all kind of just yell about how nutty things are, to put it lightly.
Wow.
It seems like a stressful podcast to be on, but it also is very cathartic, and it's a good, like, oh yeah, because everything's so like wacky right now. You kind of get numb to it sometimes. So it's good to like plug in and be like, oh yeah,
this is awful.
This is awful.
Yeah.
So it's a good catharsis. If you want some of that and you're leaning left to liberal, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
Give it a gander.
And I just want to also emphasize that name is not a threat. It's just a fact.
That's great, actually. Do they say that?
They do say that. That's how they open every episode.
This is not a threat, just a fact. That's really great. That's
great.
Really funny.
It's a delight. So check it out. Henry Kissinger is Pokemon Going to Die.
I will. I'm excited.
Fellow noise space occupant.
Well,
so that's our show.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to us.
We'll see y'all again for season 2, episode 7.
Yes, and